Hello again. In this video, I want to explain the consumer's perceptual process, how they take in information, and the barriers and how that impacts us in terms of perceptual maps and effectively communicating our brand positioning. So in simple terms, perception is just a fancy word for how people or how we interpret and understand the world and things around us, and we form an overall view based on the information coming in and our experiences. From a consumer perspective, what we're most interested in is their understanding of brands, products, benefits, and these form very important things for us as marketers: their attitudes, their opinions, and their perceptions, of course. So here's the process that people go through in terms of any information, not just marketing, but we're primarily interested in marketing information, of course. And our goal in marketing is often to change consumer behavior and drive increased purchases, increased loyalty, commitment to the brand, and so on. We have our objectives down here, but we've got this funnel to get through. So any information you have, you're exposed to the information. Now, numbers vary, but in busy cities or big cities, you could be exposed to thousands of promotional messages a day. So if you go down to a shopping mall or down the street where there's signs, there's going to be lots of those. If you're on the internet, there's lots of communications coming at you. If you're on social media, watching videos, you have so many messages coming at you that you are exposed to. Some of those, and we're talking a very small subset of those, you pay attention to. Oh, well, that's interesting. Or you glance at it. Now, attention doesn't mean you spend a lot of time with it, but attention is something that draws you in, even for a split second. You might be driving down a highway and there's a billboard and you might glance at it and look at it. It's got your attention. Okay, so we're going from lots of exposures to only a few that you pay attention to. And the reason is because we have a mind that just can't process thousands of communications. So in terms of survival, we concentrate on the things that are important to us to make our lives manageable. Some of those we will bother to take some interest in and bother to assign some meaning to. Oh, that's an interesting ad, that billboard. What's all that about? Okay, we don't necessarily put it that way, but there's a few seconds, or perhaps longer if it's a weird ad, that we spend some time interpreting it. Now we get down here, this is where the marketers want to get to, is we want to get the consumer to learn and to alter their memory based on this messaging. Okay, so all the way it's coming down. Now again, we see ads all the time, or communications all the time, and we're in marketing in particular, so we might interpret a few more than the average person, and over time our memory, our understanding, our perception slowly changes. Oh, that's interesting, that product can do that. I didn't know that about that brand. Oh, that's saying that brand's better than that one. These things are all trying to alter memory. And the ultimate outcome is to change some behavior. So obviously purchase behavior, repeat purchases, degree of loyalty, a willingness to pay more, willingness to leave a review, willingness to recommend to somebody else, recommend online, etc. Do a social media post. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a sale, but we want to build that brand, we want to build those attitudes, we want to build that positive vibe about the brand, and obviously create that ongoing loyalty. Now that's the process, and that's quite hard, and that's why large companies, large brands spend so much money in their communications. Now we've got these barriers all the way through here, and I'm just going to work through what they are. So selective exposure means that you are attracted to certain types of media. I mentioned a billboard on a highway, but if you don't go on a highway, you're never going to get to see that. You are choosing what media you engage with. So you might be on social media and looking at that. You might be on YouTube. You might been doing lots of Googling and see Google ads. So your lifestyle and your interests and your preference will guide what you see. So even though there's companies out there doing lots of advertising across different types of media, they're working hard with their communications, they've got packaging out there, they're in certain channels and retailers, they're working hard with influencers, getting reviews, product placement in movies and videos and TV. So there's a lot of communications going out deliberately from brands, but they're trying to capture as many of those media channels as possible depending on their target market, but you have your own preferences. So they may advertise heavily on Facebook, but you don't use Facebook, so you never see it. So the exposure is reduced. So first challenge is making sure we're trying to connect our media plan and our media buy to the media preferences of our target audiences, which is more challenging than it seems. The next thing is selective attention. So you might flick through, go through a website or go online, or you might walk through a shopping centre, and some people will notice different signs and different ads different to you. Okay, so we choose what we want to pay attention to. And they're things that we're interested in or somehow appeal to us, or we just happen to be looking for that product at that time. So, oh yeah, I was looking for one of those, oh that's interesting, I'll check that out. So it'll depend on a whole bunch of personal characteristics. And that's why companies will use these things. We can't get you through traditional media, so we're trying to get your attention through an influencer or placing it into a movie, or we do something unusual, some sort of viral type messaging, a bizarre ad or a funny ad, we use a celebrity. So brands will have to work pretty hard to grab your attention. Okay, so they've spent a lot of money in media and they've spread their money, and then the communication's got to be effective enough for you to pay attention to it. Okay, but it's got to be effective in getting attention, but they're not distorting the messaging, which is the next one. Distortion, or what becomes sometimes called decoding, is how the person viewing or hearing or coming across the product somehow, how they interpret the messaging. And that can be easily distorted. Okay, that happens in a family. You might have a conversation with your parents or something, and you thought they meant this X, and they meant something else. There was just confusion. So misinterpretation happens a lot. In terms of marketing, we will interpret things based on our experience and our understanding of a brand. So if a brand comes out and says, hey, we're the most popular brand for this product in the country, and you might go, oh, I've tried it, I don't like it, I don't understand how they're popular. So you've taken this messaging, which is supposed to be a positive message to encourage people, hey, you're missing out, everybody's buying this brand, and you've taken it a different way because you've got experience with it. So you're going to interpret things differently. So if a company comes out and says, this is the most important feature to look in for that product, so whatever you're looking for, maybe a camera or something, and you go, oh no, that's not important, I think this is important, and you disagree with the communication. So either way, either it's experience-based or just a lack of understanding or a lack of disinterest, we are going to misinterpret things. Okay, so that's why companies work very hard with clarity, trying to make sure the communication's clear, but we've also got to be exciting enough to get attention, so it's a bit of a trade-off there. They keep reinforcing their positioning. Often we see similar colours, similar looks, taglines, statements, types of communication, and it's just reinforcing that to make it clear. Two-way communication is often good. So, we go, okay, we know you don't like this about our brand, so we've fixed it. Okay, so that sort of openness, being authentic, being real, being responsive, opens up to consumers who are possibly anti the brand. So if McDonald's says, hey, we got healthy menu options, some people are going to go, no, you don't. But if you go, gee, you know, McDonald's, yeah, for a long time we just did burgers and fries, but now, hey, we do this because health is important and we want to give people a choice. They've accepted that they had a heritage in fast food, but they're trying to fix it. So that opens up some of these consumers from being negative, misinterpreting, distorting the message. Then we got to get to a stage where it actually is memorable, that we teach something to consumers. So they go through some sort of learning process. And we are selective about what we choose to remember. Okay, we've got a lot of things coming at us. And it's very, very hard for us often to remember things. That's why we see lots of repetition in advertising communications. We see reminder ads. So Coke might just say, hey, you know, Coke is good, or always Coke, or something simple. And you go, well, what's the point of that? I already know about Coke. You're not telling me anything. That's all designed just to remind, to reinforce, to keep pushing. And that's why we will see the same ad or the same style of ad from a brand over and over and over. Reminder, we might see it in store. So McDonald's might have an ad on YouTube or on social media. We then go into the store and we see the signage. Oh yeah, that new burger's out. Yeah, I forgot about that. You exposed to it, you paid attention to it, you go, oh, that burger sounds good, and then you forgot about it, so McDonald's has to remind you in the store situation. So we've got to make sure that our integrated marketing communications, all this is working together, it's connecting, getting the same messaging out there, reinforcing it, push, push, push. And then finally down in behavior, we're not going to just rely on you, we're going to prompt you. So even though you may not remember, we can do sales promotions internally, we can do those posters or signage reminders, we can get salespeople to mention it, we can make sure we're well placed in a store, we can do in-store demonstrations if it's a new product, and we keep pushing just in case something's going wrong here. So all of these things down to here is where perception comes in. So when we're doing perceptual maps, typically we're relying on memory. And there's a lot of work to go here. I've taken very much a communications or a promotional viewpoint, but obviously it can be very much product-based channels. So all of those things are contributing to the brand and people's understanding. So we understand a brand because what products they have, what sort of retailers sell them, where I've seen them, who else has them, what word of mouth are there, who's influencing, social media comments, reviews, a whole blanket of information's coming at us, not just communications. But I've talked mainly from a communications perspective, just to make sense of this model. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Please check out the free template below for doing perceptual maps. Very handy tool for marketers. And please like and subscribe.